Hello children, I welcome you all to the science class and today we will begin with chapter number 2, components of food. Till now you all are aware about what is food and how it is important for all the living creatures. We have also done like we all get food from different sources. Some are from plants and some are from animals. So today we will do or we will start that how these different sources are giving us different variety of components, important components which are useful for our body, for every living thing's body. So components means something important constituents of the food which is important for our health. So first question in my mind comes to ask from you is, why do we require food? We need food for growth, for maintenance. Okay. And the things that give us growth and maintenance are called as nutrients. What are they called? Nutrients. From this picture you can make out there are different food items kept on the plate. Some are the parts of the vegetables, some are the parts of the animals. That means some part of the food has been obtained from the plant source and some part of the food is obtained from the animal source. And these sources are giving some chemical substances which are helping us to grow and to maintain our health. So what are they? They are nutrients. Okay. Nutrients are the chemical substances given by the different sources of food for our body. Now, basically these essential means important components of the food are called nutrients. We divide the nutrients into 6 categories. The first one is carbohydrates, second one is proteins, third one is fats, fourth one is vitamins, fifth one is minerals, and the sixth one is the dietary fibers and water. In some places you will get this dietary fibers as such roughage. So basically how many nutrients we get in our food from the different sources? Carbohydrate, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals and roughage. So total six nutrients are important for our health and which we get from different sources of the food. Now you can see from the picture that this is our body. To maintain the body properly, to maintain the proper health, we need these nutrients. And you can see that each nutrient is holding different food items. Now you can see carbohydrates. In this, a picture of potato and corn is there. In the case of protein, there are some kind of dals and or the beans and eggs. Here oil and butter constitutes fat. Water is there. Vitamins are obtained from vegetables and fruits. Minerals again with fruits and milk. Fibers are the different raw vegetables and the fruits, and water you. So each nutrient is coming from different particular source. It's not necessary that all the nutrients are present in one ingredient. Every nutrient you get, or you can get two nutrients from one ingredient, but not all the nutrient from one ingredient. Okay. When we classify these components, these 5 important components into some categories. We divide these categories into 3. One is the food or the components that give energy. So these are called as energy giving food. So the kind of food that gives us energy are holding fats and carbohydrates. So the food sources that has carbohydrates in them, that has fats in them, they gives us energy. The second one is the body building food. The second category of the component is body building food, which helps to build our body, which helps us to grow, which helps us to develop. So such bodybuilding food are categorized in proteins. So the foods which are giving us proteins are called as bodybuilding food. The third group or the third category is the protective food. From the name you can make out protective means which protects us, which shields us from the harmful things. So what are the harmful things for our body? Any kind of disease causing microbes or any kind of infection are our enemies. So the things which fight or which helps us to fight from our enemies are called as protective food. So these are two food components are protective foods. One is vitamins and minerals. We will do each of them in detail with the sources, with their function, and what happens if we are not getting that particular component in the appropriate amount through the food. So we will do every component in detail. Now, I begin with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, from the name it is clear that it is having carbohydrate. So that means this is made up of two elements, basically carbon and water. So water, hydrates means water. Hydro means water. Carbon and hydro and water. So when we split up water, we split into two more elements. One is hydrogen and oxygen. So those components which have three elements, one is carbon, second one is hydrogen, third one is oxygen, they form carbohydrates. In this there are three carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Carbohydrates are also two types. One is sugar, other one is starch. So in the carbohydrates found in the food are in the form of glucose, sugar and starch. Now you just analyze which type of food gives us sugar. All the fruits have sugar. Potato have starch, rice has starch, the sugar cane is having sugar. So those food items which are sweet in taste, which is starchy in nature, they are the rich sources of carbohydrates. So what are the sources of carbohydrates? We include cereals like wheat, maize, rice, jowar, bajra, potatoes, sugar, honey, bread, jaggery, sugarcane, sugar beetroot. All these are giving either sugar or starch. So they are the rich sources of carbohydrates. And what type of food carbohydrates are? They are energy giving food. What is the basic function of carbohydrates? Carbohydrates such as starch and sugar, they gives the maximum energy to our body. You might have seen children, whenever any athlete runs, and we always be ready with the glucose. When he is exhausted, when he is tired, so we give them glucose water. Why we give them glucose water? Because glucose gives us instant energy. If glucose is not available, what we do? We add sugar in the water and salt and give to that person. So immediately he get rejuvenated. Rejuvenated means he gets totally energy. So that is the main function of the carbohydrate. Now, second one is it is the cheapest source of the energy for the body. Now, potatoes are very cheap. The rice is very cheap. So even a poor person can afford to buy rice and get the carbohydrate in its diet. Okay. Now children, here is a picture for the carbohydrate. What are they doing? They are energy providing substances. What are the two forms of the carbohydrate? Sugar and starch. You can see this. Sucrose is the big like the kind of juice that we get it in the fruits or the sugar cane. Potable sugar means the powdered, the table sugar that we get. Glucose is the fine powder. Grains gives us starch, all the grains, whether it is rice, wheat. When you cook it, it becomes sticky. That means it has starch. Peas, potato, corn are the starch giving carbohydrate sources. Okay, and sugar giving carbohydrates are sucrose, potable sugar and glucose. Now, if you want to check whether any food item that you are eating is having sugar or not, whether it is having starch or not, to prove that potato is a rich source of starchy food, we need to test it. So there is a kind of test. Children, these tests we will perform in the classroom because some of the chemicals we need for this testing that might not be available at our home. So for that we will do it in the class. I will demonstrate in front of the whole class when the school reopens. Just to remember it, what is the test? Whenever we need to test for the starch, we need the important chemical, that is iodine. This you remember. For the test of the starch, we need which solution? Iodine solution. So any food item, if you want to check whether the starch is present or not, we need iodine solution. Now, how do we do? Suppose we take a potato, we cut a potato into slice and we add few drops of iodine solution on the slice. Actually, the color of the iodine solution is brown, but when it is put on any food source which is having starch in it, the brown color changes into blue black. Suppose if you cut a potato, on that if we will put some drops of iodine, the places where the iodine will touch the surface of the potato will convert blue black. So if the color changes to blue black, then we say that starch is present. That means this confirms the starch test in that food item. Suppose if we have taken any solution and if there is no starch, suppose we take oil, milk in the test tube and we add iodine. Will it give blue black color? No, because milk is not a source of carbohydrate. So what is the test of the starch? We add iodine solution or iodine drops on the food item. If the color changes to blue black, then we say that starch is present. Okay. Now the second one is the test for the presence of sugar. Now, in this we don't need iodine. We need a different solution that is called as Benedict solution. What is it? Benedict solution. And as you know, the sugar is present in the fruits. So generally, we can take any fruit, whether we take grape juice, whether we take some crushed apples, whether we take some pieces crushed bananas. So if we take those fruits in the crushed form or in the juice form, apple juice, banana juice if we take, and if we add Benedict solution to that and then we heat it, we have to heat it. First what you have to take, any fruit, crushed form or juice form. Add few drops of what? Benedict solution and then you heat it. Because Benedict solution is blue in color. And when we add to the fruit juice or fruit crush, it will not change the color immediately. When you will heat it, first it will change to green color, then it will change to little yellow, then little orange, and finally it will give a red color in the test tube. So if the color changes to red after heating with the Benedict solution, it confirms the sugar presence in that food item. Similarly, if you will take milk in the test tube and you will add Benedict solution in it and then heat, do you think whether the color change? No, because milk does not contain sugar in it. So you have understood the test for starch and the test for sugar. Remember, for starch, which solution we take? We take iodine. And for sugar, which solution we take? We take Benedict. Remember forever. Okay? Now, the next component we begin with is the fats. Everybody know fat is present in the butter, ghee, cheese, all these items has fat. Fat is also in which category, in which food group? They comes under energy giving food. But remember, fats are more energy giving than carbohydrates. So if you eat fatty food, you get more energy, but to digest the fat, it is not easy. Fat digestion takes more time than the carbohydrates. So what happens? Suppose if your intake of fat is more than the energy that you need, what happens? They get stored under our skin, above the tissues, and we become fatter and fatter. So if you are eating fatty food but you are not doing that much exercise or walking, what will result into? You will become fat because it will get stored. Why it is stored? Because the storage fat helps us to give energy when we are not getting proper food. Suppose if you are not getting food for 3-4 days, then also you will survive. No. How do you survive? Because the fat which is stored under our skin gives us energy in that crisis time. Okay. Now, fats are higher amount of energy giving food than carbohydrates. But we get the fat from animal source also. We get the fat from the plant source also. So, and fats can be divided into two categories. One is called as animal fat, other one called as vegetable fat. Animal fat is what? We get the milk, and the milk is having cream. The cream changes into butter, ghee and all. So the plant animal sources of the fat is butter, ghee, okay, and these is kind of a cheese, okay. This is a kind of a meat. They also have animal fat. But remember, animal fats are solid at room temperature. You might be seen butter is solid at room temperature. Ghee is also a little semi-solid. Cheese is also solid. But vegetable fats are we get from the seeds of the vegetables like soya bean, sunflower, peanuts, corn. We extract oil from those seeds, mustard, sunflower. So what are they? They are the seeds. From the seeds we extract the oil, and that oil contains fat. But what is the difference in that? The animal fats are solid at room temperature. The liquid fats or vegetable fat is liquid at room temperature. But both are fat giving sources. Okay, understood? Now, as we did the test for starch and sugar, there is one test for fat also, whether it is having fat or not. Very simple is that. Suppose if you take a samosa or a puri which is fried in the oil. So what to do? If you wrap the food into a paper and just crush it, what will happen? There will be paper will be stained with the oil marks. So you will see the appearance of the oily patch through which light is faintly visible. That means the paper becomes translucent, partially visible. So if the oil makes it translucent from the food, suppose you have taken apple and you crushed it and pressed it, whether it will have the oil patches? No, because apple is not the source of fat. But in case if you take the peanut you crush and then you fold it and wrap it into the paper and crush it like this and then you straighten, you will see that there will be some oil patches on the paper due to the peanuts. Why? Because peanuts is the source of fat. Okay, children. Next one, the source is proteins. What are the source? Protein. And what is the category or the groups of the protein? What type of food proteins are? They are body building food. But protein is a complex compound. Like carbohydrate was made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. But proteins are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and sulphur. How many are there? 5 elements. In that there were only 3 elements. That is why proteins are complex compounds. So these components join together and they form amino acids. When many amino acids join together, they form protein. Okay? Like carbohydrates, sugar joins together to form the starch. Similarly, amino acids joins together to form the protein. What are the sources of protein? Cereals like wheat, groundnuts, beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, milk, cheese. So we can say like fats also. Proteins also we get from some plant sources as well as from animal sources. So both the sources of protein are useful to us. Then only we get the appropriate amount of protein for the proper growth and maintenance. What is the function of the protein? Proteins are needed for growth and repair of the body. What is the meaning of repair here? Whether our body gets damaged every time? No, because every time in our body continuously the old cells are getting replaced by the new cells, and sometimes some of the cells get worn out. That means their lifespan gets over or they get distorted. So in place of those worn out and old cells, new cells has to be replaced. So to replace the old cells with the new cells, we need what? We need protein. So this is also a kind of building. So proteins are called as body building food. Okay, children. So today we did 3 components important. One is carbohydrate fats coming under energy giving food. Then we did body building food as protein. Okay. So let's finish the class here only for today. In the next class, I will start with the test of protein and then we will go further. Okay, children. Take care of yourself. Be safe by staying at home and study. Thank you so much.